As always, the internet is a whirlwind of very funny and hilarious notions, and also a lot of misguided opinions and concepts over time. What am I talking about in particular? Well, the question I'm being asked today in the title is, what do I think of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? And there is some hilarious controversy surrounding this game. So first and foremost, let's give you an introduction. They formally announced this game forever ago, saying they were going to work on an Indiana Jones title with Machine Games in collaboration with Bethesda Softworks. Now, you know how I feel about Bethesda. I'm not the biggest Bethesda fan, I'll tell you this now, but their collaboration titles where they get different developers to do games for them, like Evil Within by Tango, I was really enjoying that game. I enjoyed that game. I enjoyed the original Wolfenstein that Machine Games made. I think it was the first one, called The New Order, and I thought that was a fantastic experience from start to finish. You can go around and beat up Nazis like you usually do in Wolfenstein fashion. You could also cook up grenades, and you have all these modern conventions of weapons, and you got all these like sort of alternate World War II weapons where you kill people with, and I thought it was a great time. I remember playing Wolfenstein for the first time in 2009 with that personal reboot as well, and just disintegrating people with a bone melting gun could never be any more satisfying. But I enjoyed this alternate World War take on one of possibly the greatest first-person shooter franchises of all time alongside Doom. Now they are bringing their expertise and their wheelhouse to Indiana Jones. What followed after the fact was obviously Fallout, and I don't get the Fallout because the Indiana Jones trailer looked really good. I mean, at one point, one of the most coolest set pieces was jumping from plane to plane in first person while the plane is in midair. I thought those set pieces were dope to see in first person, as well as having Troy Baker emulate Harrison Ford really good. His voice just feels mashed up. It feels up to snuff. It feels up to par, embodying that character that we loved with Indiana Jones. The aesthetics, the graphics, just the pure thrill of the adventure, it seems like they captured that essence. That is still not good enough for the Twitter hemisphere, which jumped to conclusions yet again, and I'm not really surprised by any of it. The first thing we have here is the fact of people comparing Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and Indiana Jones, which is honestly the most hilarious comparison, because I think if it wasn't for Indiana Jones, then Uncharted and Tomb Raider would not exist in the first place. I think Uncharted is a great series. I think Tomb Raider is stellar, but look, people, we gotta stop this whole compare and contrast when we're talking about the originator that came first. Indiana Jones came before Uncharted. Indiana Jones came before Tomb Raider. Both of them were influenced by Indiana Jones. He is the godfather of adventure movies, and it's something that we have to accept. We have to stop doing this revisionist history each and every single time a new game comes out or a new piece of media. Nathan Drake was inspired by Indiana Jones. Lara Croft was inspired by Indiana Jones. He was the first one. I remember when fucking Uncharted came out and people were saying, oh look, it's Dude Raider. But again, while Tomb Raider came first before Uncharted, before Tomb Raider there was Indiana Jones. So I don't want to hear all these comparisons in that regard. We know who came first, who was the originator, who was the OG, and there's nothing wrong with influence. There's nothing wrong with imitation. Imitation can be a great thing, and it can lead to some good games. It can lead to some good characters. It can lead to good stories. But we have to understand Indiana Jones came first. And then it's like there's people that are 100% pissed and mad that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is not going to be in third person. It's going to be in first. Now, this is all a preface-based argument, right? It's no denying this here. There are some people that believe some games look better, feel better, play better in third person. There's other people that will digress and say differently and say first person is not really all that bad. I believe both of the arguments, both people have a certain stance that I agree with when you think about the camera angle and perspective of Indiana Jones. However, that being said, I do believe if Indiana Jones was in third person, it would just bring up the stupid argument again of, well, Indiana Jones is now copying off of Uncharted. Oh, look at this. Xbox is copying off of PlayStation. It's not really original. We know how console warriors are in the midst of conversations like this. It's nothing really nuanced or intelligent, so we have to expect that coming into fruition. See what I mean by that? Now, personally speaking, they could still do very interesting stuff with the gameplay. I don't believe this side conversation, this side piece of saying first-person games don't have really great combat or original combat, or they really can't do melee. You can do melee in first person. Dying Light did it, Shadow Warrior did it, Dishonored did it, and my personal favorite, Escape from Butcher Bay. Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay. That game had ex-members of Machine Games. Starbreeze Studios was the originators behind Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, and now those ex-members shifted to a rival company known as Machine Games, who is currently working on Indiana Jones as we speak, showing that punching out guards in Escape from Butcher Bay, that has some semblance and correlation to the team actually experimenting with those mechanics, making it fun, and turning it into something with Machine Games. So before people start saying, well, they have no experience, you can't make a first-person game fun, you have originators from a game that made punching out guards super fun. So I don't want to hear it if you don't know your history lesson. It's like, come on. I can apply the same fundamentals to Shadow Warrior, cutting people up with a sword diagonally, vertically, watching their limbs fly off, and blocking at the same time while also casting magic attacks has never been so euphoric. I believe that first-person melee is so rare from this excerpt, and I quote, "Some games that have good melee, like Dishonored, where you could duck, parry, and charge your swings while mixing in magic and guns in between, that can be satisfying. Dying Light 2 had a good melee system with block, parry, dodge, charge, etc. Kingdom Come Deliverance had a very intricate melee where you could start off slow and clunky, and eventually you duel with the best of them by targeting certain areas, certain limbs, and making your own combos to catch people off guard." So, first-person games with complex melee can exist, and they can be done well. We see from this excerpt, before I continue, that it is coordinated really well. It's hard, but it's not doable. At the same time, we run into what is called depth perception issues. How can you see the world around you and you're seeing only in first person? What if someone sneaks behind you? You got to think about the combat there. As opposed to third person, where if someone tries to sneak behind you, the camera can at least adjust. You can see who's behind you, in front, in back, on the sides, and therefore you can attack that person to have a faster reactionary time versus just eyes being in the front of your head and not the back of your head. That's the common issue that I see, as well as AI complaints. How will the enemy react if they don't stay in your line of sight, and how do we make it fair and balanced from there? Most of those common concerns that come up once in a blue moon and once in a while when it comes to first-person melee games, they get brought up into the equation, and honestly, they are fair and constructive opinions when you really think about it. There are ways to deal with them, as continued in the quote. Most perspective and depth perception problems can be fixed by upping the hitboxes in your favor and trying to get the AI to stay in your sight, and any enemies significantly larger than you can come down to your level at times, like tripping in Monster Hunter. First-person melee in the games that I mentioned is super visceral and kinetic, and I totally agree with that, but it has to be down to either, well, you have a gun in some first-person shooters, so you can just pull out your gun and shoot the person, even though Indiana will probably pull out his gun and shoot someone trying to kill him with two swords in a melee contest, which I hope is included here. But I feel like it's not a lot of love given to first-person systems with complex melee to begin with, and I think that maybe developers find it too difficult to focus on all the shooting mechanics and all the first-person melee mechanics at the same time. But we have devs that have, not impossible, doable, yeah, hard, yeah, but impossible, Hell no. Like I said, bear with me, imitation is nice. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I cannot stress that enough. It led to the creation of clones, which is also nice. Like, who wouldn't want more games within the same wheelhouse but doing something unique in the process, like Sleeping Dogs to GTA. Sleeping Dogs was created because of the whole Grand Theft Auto boom, but Sleeping Dogs had better beat 'em up style aesthetics and gameplay, and I'm not knocking that at all whatsoever. I enjoyed that. The last time I remember GTA going like really hard in the paint over hand to hand was San Andreas, and I wish some of that came back with GTA 4 and GTA 5. Your imitators can sometimes make you go, huh, I wish this was in the series that I readily enjoyed and I felt like it pioneered everything, but this section could be a little bit better. Dumping the baby out with the bathwater is fine in most cases for new IPs. We've seen it before with Horizon Zero Dawn. Before, we had a studio that worked on first person all the time. Now we have a third person open world adventure, and this time we're having a developer that's sticking to what they know in their comparative wheelhouse. They worked on mostly first person games. It doesn't mean that because they make a new first person game that is going to readily play the same as the previous iterations. We have to see how things go. I had a discussion about this not too long ago, but I feel like you as Indiana Jones, you should be like someone that is fallible. You aren't a tank, you're a regular man. We've seen that scene before where he's fighting the big guy near the plane and the big guy is like kicking his ass. That danger element needs to come in the gameplay because, well, I mean, you know, Wolfenstein is more of your I'm larger than life, I'm this souped up guy, you know what I mean, I'm this soldier that knows his shit. In Indiana Jones, not so much. You are a regular archaeologist who is in danger 24/7. That should reflect in the gameplay when you're fighting more than one opponent. It should be the opportunity that they should work on an element of surprise, danger, and suspense while mixing all that in with classic adventurer lore. And I think that's going to be good if they get that right, if they get that perfect synergy. There's also a lot of other things that people have said that's not really the greatest or intelligent, and honestly, the Troy Baker things, let me see if I can get this on the screen for you guys real quick before I sign off on this video, because oh my god, man, I have to get this one. So let me see. No, okay, let me go down. All right, so I'm on X right now, and there is a lot of Troy Baker ire. Controversy. These are not even the worst ones. Damn, I swear to god, if this is Troy Baker, I'm doming myself. Okay. The insecurity and just the straight jealousy in this game is real. Like, dude, I'm gonna have to say it. Like, did Troy Baker screw your mom to be making these tweets about him, saying that, you know, if Troy Baker is in Indiana Jones, that you want to unalive him? What the fuck is wrong? That is some serious unhinged shit. It really is. I have it right here for people to see. That is crazy. These people are insane. That is some insane stuff in the building. I'm sorry. That's just, I don't know what he's done. Again, he must have did your mom doggy style, and you must have been in the room in the cupboard crying when she was getting her cheeks clapped. Like, then we got the credits from the EP. Todd Howard, Todd the God, and this is how Troy Baker sounds like in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Myths. History. Just different ways to interpret the past. Thousands of years of humanity's thoughts and beliefs, scattered and buried. Just waiting to be found.
You can't just run away from your problems, Indiana.
Watch me.
He sounds fine. It is an imitation voice, 100%. Don't get me wrong. I do agree. I do agree that it is an imitation voice, but he sounds fine. He sounds roughly akin to Harrison. There's no big deal. Like, Jesus Christ, not a big deal enough to say you're going to unalive him because you don't like him as a voice actor. That's completely stupid. Like, you need a mental shrink at this rate if you believe that. That's just uncalled for, dude. I just had to point that part out specifically because no one would believe me if I didn't show that otherwise. Then there's the final two things, you know, the obvious people saying game woke because female flirts with Indiana Jones in a dominating fashion, even though Marion punched Indiana Jones in the face when she first met him. So just dominating flirting is the least of his problems versus a fist to the jaw. I thought we realized by now that Indiana Jones himself as a character is quite lecherous in nature. He's been that way since the dawn of time. He's been that way established. His father is that way, where he is quite lecherous in nature, leading to the conception of Indiana Jones. So you're not gonna tell me that Indiana Jones isn't the type to be introduced and influenced to a number 2 female who happens to be on his side or developing a relationship. And I guess you realize how wrong you were, considering the fact that this tweet is now currently deleted. I don't understand. It's all a bunch of console warrior nonsense, or it's either misunderstandings of the character or the movie or the plot itself. While I do see and recognize how much of a benefit that third person has on the entire adventure genre, how it redefined it so many times, how we obtained our Tomb Raiders and our Uncharted's, there is room for more. There is room for difference, and that needs to be accepted within the gaming industry and the gaming medium. The main point that these folks don't tend to understand is that if there's too much imitation, then you end up with a homogenized playstyle over and over and over again, just because something struck success. Therefore, I don't mind Indiana Jones being first person yet again, and I can't believe I'm saying this, even though I clowned them religiously, but the only people that came out as a big publication making a hit piece on this and saying facts was IGN, and I don't know who wrote this. I'm not even gonna say the website is valid, just the person who wrote the article itself. After 6 Uncharted games, a reboot trilogy of Tomb Raiders, and unaccountable third-person adventures going back to the dawn of the medium, developer Machine Games has made a wise move in making Indiana Jones first person. And I agree, they made a wise move because, once again, they're trying to stand out from the pack and do something unique with their own wheelhouse, and that should be generally accepted. I will be playing this game. I am very interested in this game, and a lot of people just seem to need to grow up. It's a lot of lack of understanding, a lot of console wars. What happened before will stay intact. The history of Tomb Raider and Uncharted is going down 100% as well known, but a new game emulating something else while having that adventurer flair will not diminish any of those reactions to Tomb Raider or Uncharted whatsoever. And I thank God we don't have that toxic comparison loop just because Indiana Jones seems to be straying from third person. I'm very glad we don't have that. You'll get your third person little mini cutscenes, and that's about it. I want to see what is king with the gameplay with this title, and we'll see what happens when it finally comes out. And for all the rest of the stuff that I didn't cover, like, well, great, Indiana Jones is fighting Nazis, everything is woke now. I don't think folks really minded or complained or made too much of a fuss when Machine Games did Wolfenstein, which features punching Nazis in the face and shoving grenades up their ass. So if you're a Nazi enthusiast and supporter, well, first of all, fuck you again. I'm a minority, so fuck you a third time, and I'm out. That's what I think about Nazis. Nazis can suck my cock. I am Renegade Operative. I am signing out. You guys have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see what happens with Indiana Jones when it releases. Comes out this year. Can't wait. And I'll play it and give my first impressions when I have time. Peace. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you next time.